Hello everybody, how's it going? I hope everyone's doing well. Today we're going to do a very important topic. It's called graphotherapy. I'm sure most of you have heard of it, or at least the ones who are interested in graphology or handwriting analysis, they have definitely heard of this term. But even if not, you must have seen a lot of posters or memes or even advertisements that are talking about offering services in graphotherapy or probably even courses in graphotherapy. But there are a lot of things connected to this topic and we're going to explore that in detail. So let's dive right into it. Let's first begin by understanding the word graphotherapy. Where did this word come from? It comes from the word graphology, which basically means to analyze handwriting to decode a person's personality or psychological profile, right? So what is the claim of graphotherapy? What is it really saying? Essentially, graphotherapy is claiming that if you change a certain kind of writing style or maybe ways in which you write your letters or the letter formations, then you can achieve a certain kind of desired outcome. Now this desired outcome can be anything, right? Let's say I want to be more rich, or I want to be financially abundant, or I want to have more energy when I'm working out, or I want to get rid of a particular kind of health problem, right? So your desired outcome can be anything. Essentially, you are saying that change X to get Y outcome. But let's do a quick review first. What is the status of graphotherapy in India versus other countries? So generally in countries like the US, UK, Israel or France, Germany, graphotherapy is not really looked at with a lot of weightage, right? It's generally frowned upon, especially by professional handwriting analysts and graphologists. On the contrary, in India, graphotherapy is quite popular and you'll see a lot of advertisements and memes and posters on social media or on YouTube even that are promoting graphotherapy. Why is there such a stark difference between these two scenarios, right? One reason is of course that there's a human tendency that we like shortcut methods and we like quick fix solutions rather than taking responsibility and changing something for ourselves, because obviously that takes a lot more time. It's uncomfortable as well and nobody wants to go through that. But honestly, the long-term solution and anything that's effective and long-lasting is always going to start from within you. It all starts with you. So graphotherapy has actually become quite a scam and a gimmick in India, and it's quite unfortunate, but that's a fact today, and it's being sold like hotcakes. And there are people who are trying to make quick bucks with it. They're trying to make a lot of money with it, which is not really going to happen. And a lot of people are really falling for this. But the only reason for this is because we like to have, shortcut methods and quick fix solutions. Now you might actually say that I am starting with myself. I mean, I'm changing my handwriting. I'm not asking someone else to change their handwriting. So of course it's starting with me. I am starting with myself. Then what's the problem? But it gets a little iffy. It's not as simple as it looks. So let's take a closer look. The important question here is, does graphotherapy work? And the answer is yes and no both. We're going to look at both scenarios. So when does graphotherapy not work? I have to state a very important fact here before explaining that, right? Till date, anyone who has learned graphology in India has basically studied it without learning any psychology, meaning that the curriculum has not been integrated with psychology. This is the opposite to what you may find if you go to the US or UK or Germany or wherever, right? They necessarily study graphology with an integration of psychology. And this is quite natural, because imagine studying graphology without psychology. It's kind of weird. It's like saying that I want to become a doctor but I don't want to study biology. Would you trust such a doctor? I mean, how reliable is such a professional? You tell me. But this has been happening in India for the longest time, and one of the biggest reasons why the curriculum at Atman Graphology has always been integrated with psychology since day one is because we have been conscious of this fact, right? But since this is a fact that graphology is being studied without psychology in India, the person who is teaching you or the person who is giving you graphotherapy as well is coming from a half-baked understanding of exactly what your situation is, what you may be facing emotionally, psychologically, what kind of troubles or difficulties or patterns of suffering you may be going through for your current scenario. All this is very connected when you try to say that I want to seek graphotherapy from a professional. At the same time, When somebody else tells you to make a change in the writing, you're making the change, but you don't really know what that particular trait or that feature of the handwriting stands for, even if the person tries to explain it to you. It doesn't have the same impact as you truly knowing and understanding something and making a change within yourself, versus maybe somebody telling you that, oh, change this in your writing so that you'll have this outcome because this means this. It's just not the same impact, and it's just not the same kind of depth. One good way of checking this is try going to anybody who has taken graphotherapy from some kind of graphotherapist and ask them how it worked for them. They might say that, oh, it worked for them, but go back to the same person 5 years later. Yes, and I mean 5 years later, which means it's a longitudinal study. Ask the same person after 5 years how well that particular graphotherapy is working for them today, and the answer may not really be the same, right? They might just say that, oh, they don't practice anymore, or it's not having the same kind of effect. You see what I mean? If you look at something on a longitudinal scale, it has a very, very different impact, and that depends on so many other factors. It basically boils down to whether or not you have been consistent with your practice, or there may have been a completely different set of circumstances that have supported that change to have occurred in your life. It may not just be because of graphotherapy, right? So you can't exactly establish a causal link between the two aspects, the change and the graphotherapy. That said, don't be so quick to rule out graphotherapy. We're going to look at the yes part now, right? So when does graphotherapy really work, and how does it work? So think of a mirror. When you are trying to get fitter or, get more in shape, you obviously need a mirror so much. I mean, just look at all the gyms. They have so many mirrors inside. And even at home, you're constantly looking in the mirror to maybe see if the clothes are fitting you better, or, to see if you had any inch loss. So the mirror is your greatest feedback loop and your best friend in whatever process you are undergoing for your desired outcome. Similarly, the handwriting is also a mirror, right? It's a tool that helps you look at your own state of mind. It's the mirror that shows you your state of mind each time you write on the paper. Now, what better feedback loop can you have than this? Now think that if you study graphology in the right way, which means that you study it in an integrated fashion, you learn it along with psychology and with full depth, with a lot of training, with rigor and all the metrics in check, then you have such a great mirror with you, right? It's the best feedback loop that you can have, and no one else is telling you to make any kind of change on your own handwriting, right? You make whatever changes you want out of your own volition. You don't need someone else to tell you what changes need to be made in your writing if you want a particular desired outcome. Even better is that, let's say you have a particular outcome in mind, but you don't know exactly how to go about it. In that case, you have an active learning community of practicing graphologists and mentors even, who are able to guide you through the process. A lot of them are coming from the psychology background, as they are at Atman Graphology. So you can discuss your patterns, your desired outcomes in a lot of depth and from many, many perspectives. And probably it may even happen that you might change the desired outcome. You might look at your desired target or goal and outcome in a whole new way and think that, actually, I don't know why I was chasing that. Maybe that's not really something that I want. Maybe it was reflecting a whole other part of me that I really am not, right? So that's a whole other kind of process. And this is not something that is sold to you as graphotherapy for XYZ number of dollars and rupees. But you might undergo a whole other kind of self-revelatory process while trying to change something in your writing. And it might be more true to yourself. It will be more authentic to yourself. Isn't that a much better reflection of using handwriting for yourself as a tool in the form of graphotherapy, rather than you going to somebody for graphotherapy, paying them certain amount of dollars and rupees and, wasting your money on scams and gimmicks? Please don't waste your money, guys. Save your money. It is hard-earned money. Instead, learn the subject the right way and take the knowledge with you forever, wherever you go, and use it all the time that you want, right? And access a good community, keep learning. That's one of the best things that we do at Atman, right? We have an active community. We discuss a lot of things on maybe long walks or just long chai sessions. And it's very, very helpful to have a good community on the journey, because you don't have to pay a single rupee for your own journey. Nobody should have to pay money to find their own self, in the most truest and authentic way. So please be mindful, guys, of graphotherapy and the scams that are going on in India around it. It really breaks my heart every time I see advertisements and posters and memes that are trying to sell this in either some kind of a service or some kind of a crash course. It's really sad. Please be mindful as a customer, as a consumer, and understand that any long-term changes for your life are going to involve you making a commitment to it and just owning it, right? So that's it for today. We'll see you again. Keep sending your questions and bye.